to think about the design as subunits, and each unit has to be, or each component has to be taken at a functional level. So a behavior model of the component expressing its functionality at an intermediate level of abstraction between system level and register transfer level. So this is basically the functional design. What is the functional design? It is a behavioral model of the component and expressing its functionality at an intermediate level of abstraction between system level and register transfer level, RTL. So this behavior model might include description of the algorithm to be implemented by the component without detailed cycle by cycle timing, or it might be just a bus functional model. Now you have to see that here we are talking about only functional verification of a component. Functional verification means what? Here we are just bothered about the functional what do you say, functional operation of each subunit in the design. And once we do that, later the functional verification part comes. So in functional design, you have to understand that it is at register transfer level of each component. So register transfer level of each component, you people have done Verilog programming, you know that. So what do? We have to see each component register transfer level. Now you know that when you were using in your Xilinx or anything, you simply used to bring and or any other logical components. You simply used to write a keyword, and that keyword you were using. What do you mean by this? This means that already some ready-made things are stored which you are using. Now how can you reuse a component like this? So you have to understand this part very importantly. I am talking about IP. IP is intellectual property. So if we keep on doing everything for each and every design, it becomes very difficult and tedious for any designer, because whatever is already done by any designer, they can save their right on that, and with their permission we can reuse that. What is it called as? This approach to design is to develop a new implementation. See, one approach is you develop a new implementation by refining the higher level model. Another alternative is to reuse a component from a previous system, from a library of component, or from a component vendor. This comes under intellectual property, which means we can reuse certain components and as they constitute a valuable intangible resource. So intellectual property means whoever does it, whoever has done it, we will give proper reference to that, and we will be using that thing again. So that comes under intellectual property reuse. Okay, what is the benefit of this? The benefit of reuse is that it is saving the design time, and if the IP has been specifically developed for reuse, that means it would have already thoroughly verified. If something is available under IP, means the person who has done before has thoroughly verified it. So it will save our effort of verifying it again. So it is well tested, verified design which we can use under IP. And even if our IP block does not exactly meet the requirement of our system, we can make it to adapt. We can make use of it, and we can make it to adapt with lesser effort than we if then required if we would have started it fresh. So that is why these are all advantage of using reusing an IP instead of new implementation. Reusing an IP is a better option. Also, if the IP performs the required function, it does not have quite the right interface connection or timing, we might be able to embed it in a wrapper. Wrapper is a circuitry that deals with the difference. For example, you can understand it this way. that under IP reuse you have certain blocks to use, but for your system you require certain more thing. So there is something called as wrapper. We can embed it in a wrapper, and we can have a special circuitry which can deal with the difference between what is required by us and what is available in the IP reuse blocks, whatever is available. So we can always take care of this thing. Okay, so this is, so two option is, one was new implementation, second one was reusing an IP, that is intellectual property. Now, another alternative for implementing a component maybe is to use a code generator. Code generator, which is an EDA tool that generates a model of a component based on parameters that describes its function. Now, code generators are available for common kinds of functions such as memories, arithmetic unit, bus interface, digital signal processing, finite state machine. So that is your third option. That comes under EDA tool or code generator. Okay, so these are the three options: new implementation, reuse of an IP, or a code generated through EDA tool. These three options are there when you talk about functional design. So in your architecture, you saw that after functional design, what did we had? We had verification. So see here, based upon your constraint, you have done the partition, then you did the design, now you have to do the verification. So that comes under functional verification. Now again, very important points you have to note under functional verification. You can get various sub units type of question under this. So you have to understand it very carefully. If possible, you write it also as and when I say. Okay, now successful verification of a system requires a verification plan. Simply, we do not start verification. We require a verification plan that identifies what parts of the design need to be verified, what functionality will be verified, and how verification will be performed. So, this is how functional verification is done. Now, when we say which part to verify, which part to verify means it depends upon your hierarchical decomposition. As the system is composed of many subsystems, each subsystem must be correct for entire system to be correct. So verifying each subsystem can be considered as the prerequisite for verifying the entire system. So verification can be, hierarchical means bottom up. You verify each sub units, then you come to the next level, see the integration part, then come to the next level, and so on. That is how a hierarchical decomposition can be verified. And the other thing is that if we talk about at the lower level of the design hierarchy, the functionality of each component is relatively simple. You know, na? When it is divided into subunit, one single subunit verification or subunit functioning will be simple. So because it is simple, it can be verified completely or in a fair manner. It can be verified. But when you come at the higher level of the design hierarchy, the functionality of the subsystem or the complete system becomes very complex. So it is very much hard to verify that a subsystem or the system meets the functional requirement under all circumstances. You have to understand, when I say all circumstances, it means that an embedded system, you can take your mobile phone only, it has so many functions. One function will be taking one a detail of one part of the embedded system, other will be taking the other part. So when I talk about the verification at a higher level, we will have to focus on interaction among components. For example, we have to check whether it is adhering to the protocols or not. So this is these are the basic things which you should understand under functional verification. Well, first thing what I told was top down. Top down means you should start with the down level, see functional verification of each subunit, then come to the next level, see the interaction between the subunit, then to more higher level and see the complete complex verification. Now, under functional verification, there are two important terms. One is called as code coverage, other is called as functional coverage. Now, code coverage, as the name suggests, it refers to the proportion of lines of code that have been executed at least once during simulation of the design. What do you mean by this? It means that if you have written 1,000 lines of code, and when you are simulating the design, no, there will be so many if else statement, or there will be subunits in the program itself. So all the lines will not be executed. If a term of if and else comes, either under else will be executed, or under another else if will be executed. So code coverage means when you are doing this simulation, each line has to be executed at least once. So that comes under code coverage. When you are doing the verification, what portion of it is getting executed means what is the code coverage of this verification tool. This is what it means. Now, what are the benefit of using code coverage is that it is easy to measure. It is easy to measure. I can say that, okay, 900 out of 1,000 lines executed. So I can say that 90% of the code coverage is seen in this verification. But it does not give a reliable indication that all the required functionality has been implemented and is implemented correctly. So code coverage is easy to calculate, easy to do and all that, but it is not recommended because it does not give any guarantee that all the required functionality has been implemented correctly. But it is also one form of verification. Second comes functional coverage. Functional coverage, as the name suggests, it will bother about the functioning of the system. It does not bother about whether all the codes have been covered or not. It will bother about the functioning of the system. So it will include the distinct operation that have been verified, the range of data values that have been applied, the proportion of states of registers and state machine that have been visited, and the sequence of the operation and the value that have been applied. Now, so many things I have told in this one line. See, what do you mean by this? When I say it includes the distinct operation that have been verified. Distinct operation means what? If you take your mobile phone only, you know that it can do thousands and thousands of operation. So each operation has to be taken one by one. So it includes distinct operation which is verified. Now, range of data values. What do you mean by range of data values? Any one piece of subunit will function well, fine, but the input will allow the range of data to be inputted. So whether you have verified it for the complete range of the data or not, whatever value it can input, the range of the value, the minimum and maximum, have you taken care of that or not? That comes under the range of data value. Then when we say the proportion of state of registers, whenever we talk about any embedded system, you have so many sequential operation, and when you have sequential operation, you have state of registers, all the registered state, and you have state machines, it will have various states. So whether what proportion of state of register and state machines have been visited, that in state diagram there may be certain states which will not be visited at all. Why? Because the current function did not involve that. So that is why it says proportion of state of register and state machine that have been visited. It may not be all, it may be 50%, it may be 60%. And next thing, what did I tell? Sequence of operations. Sequence of operation and values that have been applied. Now you see that if there are suppose 50 subunits in the program, a sequence of operation means maybe the upper subunits have been taken other subunits are not taken. It may have many possibilities, many probabilities of the sequence of operation. So whether all those things are taken care or not. So now you can see that functional coverage is a very, very detailed one. So any way anybody will like to do functional coverage in their functional verification. Code coverage is not that much looked for. So that is why functional coverage is very, very important, and it is more sought for. Okay. So this is these are two types of coverage which comes under functional verification. Now, after this, under functional verification, your testing also comes into picture. Now, for that also comes under verification only, that how to verify. So there are number of techniques that can be applied. So we have two types. Direct testing. Direct testing means it involves identifying particular test cases to be applied for DUV. What is DUV? UV is device under verification. So direct testing means it will apply particular test cases to particular device under verification and check the output for each test case. And this approach is very effective only for a simpler components where there are only small number of categories of stimulus. When you people did in lab, you people were doing this only. What you were doing in the lab was direct testing only. So you have a small design, so you have a small number of categories of stimulus, so you people were doing direct testing in your lab. But for more complex component, achieving significant coverage, function coverage is not possible. So we must complement direct testing with other techniques. What is happening? See, if a small level of simpler components are there, direct testing will be fine. But if complex component comes into picture, the significant functional coverage will not be possible. So we need to add something more along with the direct testing. Okay. Apart from direct testing, there is something called as constrained random testing. Constrained random testing involves a test case generator. Okay, test case generator. Randomly, what does the test case generator do? It randomly generate input data subject to constraints. Subject to constraint means what constraint? Subjects to constraint on the range of value that is allowed for the input. Okay, so specific verification languages. There are specific verification languages also which you people would not have come across. So this verification language like Vera and E, these are various verification languages which include features for specifying constraints and random generation of data values, which is used as stimulus to DUV, that is device under verification. So both direct and constrained random testing checkers, it ensures that the DUV produces the correct output for each applied test case. Okay, so now you have understood, no? Direct testing means what you have been doing in the lab, and constrained random testing means it will generate your testing stimulus for certain constraint on the range of the data, range of the data values allowed for the inputs and all. And you have a special verification languages. It may not come under the general programming language. So that is about your direct testing and constrained random testing. After that, you have something called as formal verification. Formal verification, it allows complete verification that a component meets a specification. And this specification is embodied in one or more asserted properties, and it is expressed by property specification language, that is PSL, property specification language. Okay, and it can be used as an adjunct to an hardware description language. What you people had used in your lab was hardware description language like VHDL and Verilog. But what I am telling under formal verification is property specific language PSL, and formal verification tool which does formal verification. It performs the state space exploration to verify asserted properties. So what formal verification does, it exhaustively examines all possible sequence of input values. Okay, so this is, you can say, at a very deeper level, it is formal verification. Okay, so what does it do? It determines the resulting value for the signals in the design at all clock cycle, and it checks the asserted properties, and it holds for all cycles. And where a property does not hold, the tool uses a sequence of input values to construct a counter example leading to the failure. So what you have to understand, your formal verification, it limit to the space of possible values that it has to explore. So it will take care of each and everything, the formal verification, and you have a special tools for that. Okay, now what is the strength of formal verification? As you may have understood that it provides a rigorous proof that assertions hold, rigorous, and its completeness is only as good as the properties are verified. So what I mean to say is, whatever properties is listed by the programmer, it will be, if the programmer has listed the properties very well, then only the verification tool, formal verification tool, will be able to tell about its completeness. If those properties do not cover functional requirement, then the formal verification cannot achieve complete functional coverage. So it depends upon the functional requirement, and it depends upon how the main program is written. I hope you people know that verification, testing and all comes, it is done by the test engineer, not by the programmer. Development team will be different, and verification or testing team will be different. So as a functional requirement has been made by the development team, then, and based upon that only your complete functional coverage can be done with the formal verification also. Okay, the last one is hardware software co-verification. Hardware software co-verification. See, till now we have talked about, okay, I will show in the graph. See here, till now I talked about this functional design and then functional verification. Once these two are fine, we go into the integration. Now this cross, the integration of software and hardware. Here you have to do the hardware software co-verification. So this cross only I am talking about now. So hardware software co-verification. So what does it do? You know that any software has to be implemented in the hardware, and the data or the system functionality of the software has to interact with the hardware. So in order to verify functionality of the system, we need to verify software and its interaction with the hardware. So hardware models of the processor and the instruction or data memories, all that could verify the software. How does it verify the software? By simulating its execution on the hardware models. You know, na, whatever you make in your Xilinx models in simulation, when you embed it in FPGA, so what happens, that hardware supports the software whatever you have written. So how does it do? It simulates its existence on the hardware model. You again simulate it, and it simulates on the hardware model. So the operation of the processor means, for example, in your case it was FPGA. The operation of the processor, fetching and executing instruction, reading and writing IO controller or accelerator register, and all this will be simulated. And the problem with this approach is that it is very slow. It will be slower in the hardware. So why it is slow? because simulation of each processor instruction involves simulation of much of the detail of the hardware operation. So that is why it is a little slower. Okay. Now, but then also there are approaches to make hardware software co-verification faster. One approach, what is used by different people is, it allows software development team to start software verification in the early design process and possibly reduce the overall time to complete the system. So this is means at a early design time only they will start to do all this. And another thing is to divide the software into two layers. One, a lower layer that depends on the hardware, and the second one is application layer that is insulated from the hardware by the lower layer. You please understand this part, you make a note of it also. One is to divide the software into two layers, a lower layer that depends on the hardware and an application layer which is insulated from the hardware by the lower layer. Now the lower layer, it is sometimes called as hardware abstraction layer, HAL. Please make a note, HAL, hardware abstraction layer, hardware abstraction layer, HAL. Or other name is board support package, that is BSP, board support package for processor. These are the components on a PCB, printed circuit board. It contains a drive code and interrupt service routine for IO controller, memory management code, and other similar things. So this abstract interface, it if we are able to do at a lower level, it increases the speed of the verification. Okay. Now, once this is done, it provides an abstract interface, and that can be called by the application layer. That means what? At lower level only, all these things about the driver code, interrupt service routine, and IO controller, memory management, all these things are taken care at the hardware abstraction layer or board support package. Once this is done, it provides an abstract interface, and this can be called by the application layer, which comes later at a higher level. Now, with this division of embedded software, development and verification of the application layer code can be proceeded without waiting for the hardware design. Okay, why? Because all the verification is done at the lower level. Now, it can be, we can proceed without the waiting for hardware design for the application layer. Instead, a software verification tool can emulate the operation provided by hardware abstraction layer. Okay, so this important point you people have to remember, that when it comes for hardware software co-verification, we go into the detail of HAL or BSP, we call it. Okay, so now once the hardware design team has developed model for the hardware that interacts with the embedded software, then we can perform co-simulation. Co-simulation means where hardware and software both are involved. Co-simulation. So this usually involves collaboration between ISS and simulator for the hardware tool. So what happens here is the two simulator, hardware simulator and the software simulator, it run concurrently, communicating when the processor must perform a bus read or write operation. So that means hardware models need not be fully functional behavior or RTL models. Okay, so these all things comes under your functional verification. Now you can see that functional verification itself, so many things are involved. So under this also various small questions can be asked. So it's you have to make your answer ready for the bigger level, at a broader level of functional verification. Later you should also be ready to have the options of answering all these small things in between. Okay, so in next class I will go to the synthesis part.